bet Jordan's pissed. Boy, I hope people understand that joke. Welcome back to another episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. My name is Jett. What was that? What? Unbelievable. I don't know what is it with the playoffs, but it seems as though whenever the playoffs begin, or the chase when it was called back then, whenever it begins, or any race during the playoffs, all the playoff drivers just seem to, hey, you know what? Let's not finish the race and just wreck or have some form of problem, because I swear, I think all but maybe 2 or 3 drivers had issues the entire race. It was unbelievable. The Southern 500 we know has always been a grueling race, but this one took it to the next level, especially for the playoff drivers. Probably in years past in recent races, it was just to see where you finished, but this time it was even difficult just to make it to the end of the race. Regardless of having a shot at the win, just making it to the finish was difficult. And now it began already right off the bat with stage 1. So, you know, Ryan Blaney, he started on pole, Kurt Busch started second, and Denny Hamlin fell back to 3rd place. That was all good up front. Now, Kurt Busch, showed some real good pace, was running down Ryan Blaney and would end up passing him on the outside lane in turn 4. Then, right after that, we had our first batch of playoff drivers having issues. Alex Bowman, who reported an issue with an engine earlier in the race, but nothing severe. His day went from meh to really bad like that. On lap 16, he hit the wall pretty hard in turn 2, and then then going to turn 3, he cut that tire, that right front tire, slams the turn 3 wall, and then William Byron, who was just running his own lane, sideswipes the left side of Alex Bowman's car. So now Bowman's got damage to both sides of his car, and William Byron's got some pretty good damage to the right side of his car. So already on lap 16, 2 Hendrick cars have damage. Not only that, then during the competition caution, Chase Elliott reports a big tire rub, so much so that there was a big dent on the left front of his car. So then he had to come on back onto pit road to get that fixed. 30 laps into it, and already 3 Hendrick cars with either issues or damage in some way, shape, or form. We got back to racing on a restart. Eric Jones stayed out on 10-lap old tires. He got swallowed up like a bug. Got squeezed 3 wide by Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick had a real good run. I was not surprised to see that, but we're going to talk about him later on. Then our 4th playoff driver to have problems, and this time it was big. Michael McDowell gets loose on that new turn 2 pavement, slaps the outside wall, and then crushes the inside wall, taking him out of the race, which was really disappointing because McDowell actually showed some strong pace, was running into the top 15, top 12, around that area, 12th to 15th place, which is where we thought that if he finishes inside the top 15, that's an improvement already. Especially, with the playoffs, Front Row Motorsports and that 34 team were hoping to build some momentum in the round of 16 and try maybe slide their way into the round of 12. But with them crashing out, they are definitely in a must-win situation. So basically, they're out of the playoffs. Basically. I mean, unless something really crazy happens, McDowell's already out of it. He then had another incident with Rick Ware Racing for 2 weeks in a row. Last weekend at Daytona, someone spun, I think it was Cody Ware or a Rick Ware driver, spun, took out 2 of its teammates. Same thing happened this weekend. Going into turn number 1, James Davidson spins, collecting his teammate Cody Ware, and nearly collected his other teammate Josh Bilicki, but again, that brought out the caution. I think that's very impressive. That takes talent. 2 weeks in a row, you take out 2 or 3 of your teammates. That's impressive. Anyways, that was really it for stage number 1. On lap 53, we restarted with Blaney and Hamlin now. Hamlin got out in front. Blaney fell back to 2nd place. We did eventually get our first round of green flag pit stops with 34 laps to go. Stenhouse was the first one to begin the cycle, but again, everything was really standard, pretty functional, nothing out of the ordinary. And Hamlin would go on to cycle back as the race leader and win stage 1. Larson in 2nd, Kurt Busch 3rd, Ryan Blaney falls to 4th. Harvick would finish in the 5th position. Truex 6th, Reddick 7th, Almirola 8th, Chastain 9th, and Joey Logano rounds out the top 10. Stage 2 was, I don't know if you could say as calm. Actually, no, I think it was pretty much just as hectic. Maybe not as much incidents, but still, even more playoff drivers got into trouble. The first big incident, a major contender, those drivers that got involved, like William Byron and Alex Bowman, I don't think we expect them to be championship contenders. But this next driver, we expect him to be, or to at least have a shot at the Final Four, and that is Kyle Busch. He was awful. He struggled the entire race, and it all came to a crashing halt. Stage 2, 2 laps after the restart, Kyle Busch cuts across Austin Dillon's nose, slams the outside wall for the caution, brings it straight to the garage, and ran over some cones and nearly ran over some people, got out of the car and went straight to the hauler. I know I saw some people on social media kind of get on Kyle's case for saying like, oh, there are people there, what are you doing? To be fair, I want to give, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I don't think Kyle could see at the time. As soon as he turned into the garage, I'm pretty sure he was expecting a clear view, not a bunch of people standing in the middle of the garage or of the garage entry, which... Why? There's monitors, there are TVs all over the racetrack, and you don't see a car that's clearly damaged making its way to the garage, and you're standing in the middle of the garage entry. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. I thought I was more pissed off at the people than I was at Kyle Busch, because Kyle Busch, he goes straight to the garage. He's not expecting to see people standing in front of him. Why would he? So yeah, I don't think. I saw some people saying, oh, he should be fined, or should NASCAR get involved in it? I don't think so. I think the people should have just not been at the pit entry or the garage entry. But yeah, that was a huge shock to see Kyle Busch crash out of this race, because again, a lot of us expected to see him in the championship 4. And after this race, he's going to be below the cut line now. He's going to be 14th in the championship standings. So yeah, there was a lot of drivers that, we expected to run well, and Kyle Busch was one of them. So to see him crash out this early in the race was like okay, what is going on? Because we had Byron crash out, Byron had damage, Bowman had damage, Elliott also had issues, and now we got Kyle Busch. But he wouldn't be the last playoff driver to have issues. So Kyle Larson restarts the race after that crash, and we'd actually get into a long green flag run and see some green flag pit stops. Christopher Bell, who pitted on lap 126, stays out, banking on a caution, and he gets that caution for debris. The problem is that he ran over that same debris and damaged the right front of his car, forcing him to pit, and he eventually had to give up the lead, so he had to repair the damage. So for about 2 seconds, it was a good moment for Christopher Bell, and then it was like, okay, well, that wasn't worth it, because now we have to pit to repair the damage. Then on lap 166, Martin Truex Jr., another playoff driver, reports a loose wheel, and he has to pit. Then we finally get into another long green flag run. Pit stops begin with around 35 laps to go, and then another playoff driver with big problems this time, William Byron. We talked about the issues he had earlier in the race. It just went from bad to worse. He cuts the left front tire and absolutely kills a car. Huge damage, slams the outside wall a ton. He was okay, but the car was not, and that ended the 24 William Byron's day. And that was, again, 300 cars with either damage or have some form of problem, not even halfway in the race. I mean, Bowman, he was basically out of it. I mean, he was still racing, but he had so much damage to his car, he was basically out of it. Byron was literally out of it. Chase Elliott, although he had that damage, for the time being, he was still running strong. So yeah, that was it for stage 2. On that restart after that caution, Larson got out and away to win the stage. Christopher Bell would finish in second. Chastain. This was around the time Chastain started to come to life. Hamlin would fall back to 4th place. Kevin Harvick finishes in 5th. Kurt Busch 6th. Joey Logano 7th. Chase Elliott 8th. Ryan Blaney 9th, and Tyler Reddick rounds up the top 10. So Chastain, the only playoff driver in the top 10 to end stage 2. And this was such a fun race to watch, because it was such an unknown factor to it. We didn't know, are there going to be more playoff drivers that are going to be involved and affected, or is it just going to be smooth sailing from here? There were also a lot of strategy calls that we will get into later in the race, but this race had everything, in my opinion. So stage 3 began with Ryan Blaney, another playoff driver that would have issues. He had to start stage 3 at the rear of the field due to an uncontrolled tire. We move over to 115 laps to go in the race. Christopher Bell, running the top 5 all night long, said that this car was extremely loose, but did not report a vibration or a loose wheel or anything like that. But it got so bad to the point where they had to pit under green flag conditions, so they were now also having issues. That was it for the time being. After that, we saw some good, solid racing between playoff drivers, like between Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott. They were battling hard for 4th place. We also saw battles just outside the top 10, like Chris Buescher and Ricky Stenhouse and drivers like that. There was some really good racing. Outside of all the chaos, there was some really fun racing. Cars slipping and sliding around off the corners. Typical Darlington race with this high horsepower, low downforce package always produces some really fun racing. So yeah, everything was calm until 98 laps ago, where we go back for another round of pit stops. This time, JGR teammates Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr., they stay out to try and gain a bit of an advantage on their competition and preserve their tires for later in the race. Eventually, they pit. Kyle Larson rebounds as the race leader. Kevin Harvick, he has to pit again due to reporting a loose wheel. Again, another playoff driver with issues, whether it's by him or by the driver's fault or the crew's fault or whatever. It seems as though that every single playoff driver had an issue in some way, shape, or form in this race. Then we fast forward to the next round of pit stops. Kyle Larson begins by pitting with 69 laps to go. But Ross Chastain, this was around the time where Chastain started to become a race-winning contender. We talked about stage 2, how he finished in 3rd place, the only driver in the top 10 that was not part of the playoffs to score stage 2 points. He also started to come to life as the sun went down. He actually pitted 1 lap earlier than Kyle Larson and had a much better pit stop than Kyle Larson, and ended up getting ahead of Larson once everything cycled through. Then with 48 laps to go, Ryan Blaney, who won the last 2 races of the Cup Series at Michigan and Daytona, he reported earlier than that lap count that his brakes were starting to fade during that last round of pit stops. Yep, it clearly did fade, because going to turn 3 with 48 laps to go, Blaney just reported 0 brakes, spins the car, bringing out the caution. That was a huge break for Kevin Harvick because of that loose wheel that we reported, as well as Hamlin and Truex, who continued to stay out while Larson and Chastain pitted. So because of that, you would think that Truex and Hamlin would restart the race. But unfortunately, Truex, he screwed himself over. He was too fast on pit road, which meaning he had to start at the tail end of the field, which means Larson and Hamlin would start the race on the front row. Hamlin got a good launch to hold Larson at bay while Chris Buescher stacked up the field off of turn number 2. Then we got a 3-car incident between Bubba Wallace, Christopher Bell, and worst of all, Chase Elliott, who suffers a cut tire from that contact and slams the wall almost the exact same spot as teammate William Byron, and he's done for the day. Another championship potential driver, I should say, having massive issues out of the race. That means 2 Hendrick cars out, a 3rd car which is all but out with the amount of damage he has. Larson was Hendrick's saving grace, but it was around this time where Larson started to fade and wasn't as strong as before. With 25 laps to go, Hamlin holding off Larson at bay, maintaining about a half of a second gap. Meanwhile, Truex was starting to come back into the mix, but he was way too far back. He was up to 5th place, but he was 5 seconds behind. We then go 10 laps later, under 15 to go, and now it's a 3-car battle. Larson's able to close in on Hamlin, but then Ross Chastain is starting to close in on the 2 drivers, and even Chastain starting to put some pressure, flex some muscle on Kyle Larson, who even had an opportunity to take 2nd place from Larson, but wasn't able to do so. But when that happened, when Chastain was able to battle with Larson for just about a lap or so, I thought, okay, that's it. Larson used up his stuff. And we thought that until the final lap, where Kyle Larson tried to pull a video game move, 2008 Carl Edwards at Kansas all over again, just drives it in without any brakes into turn 3, tried to find a way to get by Hamlin. Both of them go slamming into the wall. Larson's right side is destroyed. Hamlin holds him off to go on to win the Southern 500 for the 3rd time in his career, his 4th win at the racetrack, and his 45th career Cup Series win, which pushes him past Bill Elliott for 18th on NASCAR's all-time win list. And this is his first win of 2021, surprisingly, since Talladega in the fall of last year. And yeah, that was it. That was a solid 500. All of that happened. Again, I'm pretty sure only 3 drivers. Actually, now that I say that, now that Larson and Hamlin had damage, I think it was Keselowski and maybe Logano were the only 2 drivers that didn't have any damage or have any sort of problems, because Kurt Busch also had an incident where he suffered damage to his teammate Ross Chastain, but wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, that was an incredible race. Again, I thought this race had everything. It had drama, it had great racing, great pit strategy, with different tire calls, different tire management strategies. It had everything, and I loved this race. This was an incredible race to watch. I don't know. Is this race of the year? I don't know if this is race of the year, but this was a damn good race. So let's take a look at the unofficial results. They are to the left of your screen. So Denny Hamlin wins. Kyle Larson would finish in second. As you can tell, the drivers that are in the playoffs are highlighted in white. Third, third, Ross Chastain. I think that's his career best. An incredible run for the 42 team. Fourth is Martrix Jr. Fifth, Kevin Harvick, he earned that top 5. I said that during the playoffs, Harvick would turn it up a notch, and he did. Gave me a lot of confidence in proving my point that he could potentially go to the round of 8. Kurt Busch, solid run for him in the 6th position. Also for Brad Keselowski, wasn't expecting him to run that well, as well as Joe Logano. They finished 7th and 8th. Chris Buescher, what a run for him in 9th place. And Austin Dillon rebounds after starting at the rear of the field due to unapproved adjustments. He rounds out the top 10. Cole Custer, look at these drivers. Cole Custer, 11th. Priest, 12th. Suarez, 13th. Newman, 14th. Corey LaJoie, he finished 15th. But that result does not explain the speed he had. He had real good speed, like top 10 speed. I'm not kidding. He was passing drivers for 8th, 7th, 6th. Or not 8th, 7th, 6th, but he was passing drivers inside the top 10. He was passing drivers like Keselowski, like Logano. He was passing playoff drivers. It was incredible how much speed that 7 car had. And the reason why, I think LaJoie said in a podcast earlier in the week that the new engine had all the recent parts. So it makes me confident for the next gen car, where hopefully the goal is to bring down the cost so that more teams could be competitive, so that we could see teams like Spire Motorsports have more runs that they had here tonight. Mighty impressive for the 7th team and Corey LaJoie. Eric Almirola would finish in 17th, Stenhouse Jr. Tyler Reddick in 18th. He just struggled really from stage 3 onwards. Really tough to see after a strong run to start the playoffs at Darlington. 19th, Chase Briscoe, and Christopher Bell rounds out the top 20. 21st, Bubba Wallace, Blaney 22nd, DiBenedetto 23rd, Alfredo 24th, Haley at 25th, Alex Bowman 26th, BJ McLeod 27th, and here's a look at the other playoff drivers. Chase Elliott would finish 31st, William Byron 34th, Kyle Busch 35th, and Michael McDowell would finish in dead last. So after everything that happened at Darlington with so many drivers having issues, the playoff grid completely has shifted. Denny Hamlin, for the first time this year, his name is colored in green. He has advanced to the round of 12. He does not have to worry about the next 2 races at Richmond and Bristol. Kyle Larson now with an 80-point gap. He now has a 1-race gap, so he can breathe a little bit easier next weekend at Richmond. Martin Truex Jr. third place plus 36. Kurt Busch jumps up to 4th place plus 26. Blaney falls to 5th. Logano 6th. Harvick jumps from 16th to 7th. Again, mighty impressive. He needed that run here tonight, plus 20. Brad Keselowski plus 12. And then Christopher Bell plus 9. Elliott plus 4. Almirola plus 3. We got a tie between Reddick and Bowman. Kyle Busch out, currently in red, minus 2. William Byron also in red, minus 9. And Michael McDowell last in the grid, minus 20. So yeah, like I said, I love this race. This race was so much fun to watch. I don't know how you could complain about this race, really. I personally loved it for 2 reasons, because number 1, this race was fun to watch, and number 2, I was right. If you watched the pre-race show, I said Hamlin's gonna win, and he did, and because of him, I'm now $55 richer. I think I betted $20 on Denny Hamlin. I won 55 out of it, so Thank you, Denny. But yeah, I just can't stress this enough. This was really a fun race. Really, Darlington, under this package, this high horsepower package, has always produced bangers, and this one was no different. I'm excited for next weekend. After everything that happened today, I am excited for next weekend at Richmond, and especially for Bristol in 2 weeks' time. This playoffs is going to be a lot of fun to watch. But what are your thoughts on tonight's Southern 500? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Tell me in the comment section down below on your thoughts on anything that took place in this race. Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Hope y'all have a wonderful Labor Day Monday. I guess today, since this video is going to be uploaded early in the morning. Congratulations to Denny Hamlin, your winner of the 2021 Cookout Southern 500.